Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're going to have our album review of Shrine by Bleed From Within. So we've had the album on full rotation, on repeat for an entire week straight, and I think I'll just pass the floor to TV Fish because I'm curious. We didn't talk about it throughout the week. No. We share thoughts throughout the week sometimes, but we didn't this time, so I'm curious.
Well, last week I said that this album was pretty good. It had a lot of really cool, riffs and stuff going on. But then last week, at the same time, a seed was planted. When you said, this kind of sounds like run-of-the-mill metalcore. Mm-hmm. And when I listened to that album after our first impressions, I thought about that. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think he's right.
Cookie cutter.
It's interesting, only because this is Bleed From Within trying something different.
Is it though?
It is. This album sounds nothing like Fracture. Fracture is way better. I'll just say that right now. Fracture is great. I wish we reviewed it when it came out. But, so I commend the fact that they decided, okay, let's try this. It's just unfortunate that what they were trying was just sounding like every other metalcore band. I feel like a lot of the melodies, a lot of the rhythms, a lot of it just sounds like fundamental metalcore, which if you're new to metalcore, you're probably gonna love this album a lot.
Or if you love metalcore.
Or if you're just like that big of a fan of what metalcore is, then okay, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there's only few and far between moments that would consistently stand out to me as like, oh yeah, this is really good. Stand Down, great song. I love that song every time I hear it. And speaking of the track before it, Sky, I figured it out. I figured out how it's supposed to work. I listened to it at one point, I'm like, okay, I see. Because last week I'm like, what is this here? It doesn't lead into the next song. What? And I was listening to it, and it kind of does a rest right before the start of Stand Down, and it's in time. So I'm like, okay, I see how it's supposed to work. But at the same time, I'm like, the
flow is not there.
It doesn't hype the song up properly either.
Yeah.
Stand Down's a great song. It's a great song, and I don't feel like amped up to listen to it. Like, a good track that leads into the next track is gonna get you hyped, excited. It's gonna flow into it either, just from the energy or musically it might work. For example, like Capsizing the Sea into In Waves by Trivium. That's an example of something that hypes you up, something that actually feels really relevant to the song you're about to hear.
Sets the tone, yeah.
Exactly. Sky does not really do that. No. I low-key think a part of it is that rest, honestly, because it's such a big rest. It's just like, what? Okay, here's the song.
Yeah, it's awkward.
Anyway, though, Stand Down, I still like quite a bit. Flesh and Stone, I like as well. Both of those are singles, which, I guess maybe they just knew those were some of the best. That's why they picked them, perhaps, as singles. But sometimes throughout the week, I would listen to this album, I'd put it on shuffle, I'd be like, yeah, okay, this is pretty good, this is pretty fun, and as it would go, it would start to stale out. Mm-hmm. And even on shuffle, when it's different songs kind of starting off the session of listening, but that's just because I feel like a lot of these songs kind of sound similar to each other, and it sounds like just basic metalcore, but there are still like some small bits where it's like, ooh, that's a good riff here and there,
Yeah. It does sound very basic. It sounds very uninspired. I don't want to take a crap all over it. I didn't hate the album all week. I did enjoy it quite a bit. And one thing I did notice that I guess is a plus is that this felt a little groovier than typical metalcore to me. It does fit that cookie cutter type of mold, but there's elements about it that just felt a little groovier. Just certain sections of songs. Like Shapeshifter, for example, was a song that stood out to me. That has a really cool bridge groove at it that you don't hear a lot of metalcore bands do stuff like that. But as TV Fish mentioned, this album's got a lot of cool riffs on it, but there's nothing profound. There's nothing that's really gonna go, oh my god, you gotta hear this, or like nothing crazy. It's like a safely played album from front to back. Nothing completely wrong with it, but metalcore is a really tough genre to impress with, man. It really is. It's just one of those genres that's
very consistent.
It is very consistent, and there's a mold, and metalcore bands really just fit that mold. And when it comes to the vocals, there's not a lot of vocalists that really stand out. Just all these things. It's really tough for metalcore to really stand out. but there are some highlight tracks. So Shapeshifter was a highlight track. You mentioned Flesh and Stone and Stand Down. I didn't really feel those tracks that much. They're not bad, but they were like lower on my totem pole. Sovereign, I think, is a cool song. That's track number 2. The ending breakdown section area was really cool on that. Killing Time, track number 11. That's a cool song. I mentioned this in the first impressions. It has a bit of a Lamb of God riff at the end. I don't know if you noticed that. I mentioned it. Listen to it again. It sounds like something from Ashes of the Wake. I can't pinpoint exactly what song maybe, but it sounds like something from that album, which could be a coincidence, could be homage, could be, could be a ripoff. I don't know, but it just screams Lamb of God to me. But that's another example of the groove metal thing I'm talking about, because Lamb of God is more in line with that groove metal kind of thing, and I felt like this had kind of elements that I was thinking about Lamb of God. And also the last song, Paradise. Again, this is a small little thing, but I guess it's worth mentioning. But in the breakdown at the end, there's a really cool little riff thing that happens there. There's little things sprinkled throughout the album that make it enjoyable and make it kind of worth listening to amongst a sea of albums that are very similar to this. But overall, this was a pretty average week for me as far as my enjoyment level goes.
Well, I guess now would be a good time to rate this album. I guess I'll go first. This album is not a bad album. Despite how I guess I sound like I'm complaining about it, it's not bad. It does what it needs to do. It's a metalcore album. And people who really like metalcore, you'll enjoy that. People who are new to metalcore, you'll enjoy that. In fact, this might be a good entry song or album into metalcore.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, as someone who's heard a good amount of metalcore and has heard this band's previous work, I feel like it's a little bit of a step back, especially considering how good I thought Fracture was. So this album's going to get a 5 for me.
Yeah, that was very well put. I'm just going to match that score with a 5. I don't need to say anything else. Basically, everything he said, I feel the same way. So 5 from both of us. But yeah, that's it for this review, guys. So leave your thoughts down below. Let us know if you guys agree with our scores, or if you give it a higher score or a lower score, and all that fun jazz. Just comment down below. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. We'll see you guys on the next one on Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
Keep those guys down.